Long ago in the valley of Shenango gathered 13. Funds were low, but abundant was the pluck in 1819. 13 prayers were said with rapt devotion, $13 set the thing in motion. Thus began old Colgate University in 1819. Live true to the memory of the 13 men of yore, whose faith made tradition that shall live forevermore, whose deeds gave us courage to strive as they strove then. 'Tis the spirit that is Colgate, dear mother of men. Up the hill with profound determination journeyed 13. Ring of axe rent the silence of the woods in 1819. Forest monarchs bowed before the clearing, hymns triumphant blended with the tearing. Thus began old Colgate University in 1819. Live true to the memory of the 13 men of yore, whose faith made tradition that shall live forevermore, whose deeds gave us courage to strive as they strove then. 'Tis the spirit that is Colgate, dear mother of men.
Thy name returns. 'Tis the same fond spirit which the memory lingers o'er, and our lips but echo that old song of yore. Colgate, alma mater, fairest theme of all our days. Ever bless thy days.
Good thing is over. The sun is. She dropped it to our.
Switch! Oh my goodness!
Ever bless thy days. This is it, I-T-it.
I was walking along, minding my business, when the pain hit me in the arm. Flash, bang, electricity, orange color, purple stripes, pretty green polka dot stars. Flash, bang, electricity,
This service begins the commencement day for the great class of 1999. Robert J. Lifton is Distinguished Professor of Psychiatry and Psychology at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice and the Graduate School of the City University of New York. Previously, Dr. Lifton held the Foundations Fund Research Professorship of Psychiatry at Yale University for more than 2 decades. Robert Lifton has published numerous works, best known of which are The Nazi Doctors, Medical Killing, and The Psychology of Genocide, and Hiroshima in America, 50 Years of Denial. Additionally, Dr. Lifton has published more than a dozen books and received numerous humanitarian and academic awards. Dr. Lifton is a writer of moral vision. With courage and perceptive insight, he has relentlessly searched the human psyche, examining it for features that permit, perhaps even prompt, human beings to perpetuate cruelty and violence upon one another. One might anticipate that such a course of scholarly examination would lead to a pessimistic outlook on life. Rather, Dr. Lifton's writing, and indeed his life, face the profound evil of the 20th century and move beyond it to human hope. Author, speaker, psychologist, historian, and humanitarian, Dr. Robert J. Lifton, it is a pleasure to welcome you to the distinguished tradition of Colgate University's baccalaureate pulpit.
Members of the class of 99, President Gaboy, Chaplain DeVries, family, friends, faculty, for you, the members of the class of 99, this is a special moment. You should savor it, take in this chapel, the sky, the clouds, the sun, because as human beings, we live on images, on pictures of the world. Take in this one and store it in your mind, to be called forth when you feel the need for a rush of pleasure and beauty. But at the same time, you need to retain a sense of the dangers and the absurdities of our world, and these are all too manifest. To evoke that absurdity in a more personal way, I want to mention one of my little bird cartoons. They were mentioned in the description of my ostensible accomplishments. In order to perhaps keep my sanity, if one can say that, I draw these little bird cartoons which have no artistic talent but enable me to say things more directly than in my proper intellectual writings. And in one such cartoon, which I like to consider my existential classic, and which I hope applies to your feeling, bigger, more skeptical, more jaundiced bird looks down and says, "You were wrong." You only need to read the first page of the New York Times a few mornings to realize that we live in a crazy, mixed-up world in which new dimensions of threat seem to emerge by the day, just whether in Kosovo or Littleton or in the prison system of New York State and the new lust for capital punishment. Now, we need not and should not be immobilized by these threats and dangers, but neither can we ignore them. The principle here is that we must look into the abyss in order to see beyond it. We don't want to be held to the abyss, but we can't ignore it. Only by confronting these vastly destructive forces that have made this the bloodiest of all centuries can we take steps to avoid their recurrence, to find alternative directions and possibilities in the next century and indeed the next millennium. That is, a certain amount of awareness of what human beings are capable of doing to other human beings is necessary in order to lay claim to the pleasures and achievements of ordinary life. Now, we are, as human beings, the historical animals. We are the only creatures who create a history which we then can know something about or imagine, and that connects us with another specifically human trait, that of the imagination, and our capacity to transform our perceptions and our experiences. That wonderful human symbolizing imagination. It can get us into a lot of trouble. We can imagine all kinds of dreadful ideologies in the whole Ohm story that I told you briefly. But it also makes possible a certain kind of flexibility and resilience. And I speak of this as the protean self, the protean self. Protean means many-sided, multiple shapes, and it's named after the Greek sea god Proteus, whom, as you may remember in Greek mythology, was a creature who could change his shape at will. As Homer said, from a whiskered lion to a serpent, a leopard, to sousing water, to a tall green tree. He could change his shape into any animal or natural form. Now, to be protean, then, is to be a shapeshifter in some degree, and I believe that this is true now of all of us, because the protean self emerges from the many threats and confusions that I've been mentioning as an expression of psychological survival and as a source of meaning. Now, there are different kinds of proteanism. There can be a sequential proteanism. You'll recognize this in yourselves, especially, but not exclusively, as young people. Sequential, the sense of moving in and out of many human relationships, interests, ideas, changing them, coming back for others, and often accruing knowledge in the process. Or simultaneous proteanism, in which one has inside of one's head simultaneous images that seem to move in opposite directions and yet feel true and necessary for one. Or social proteanism, a moment like this where so many different people with very different backgrounds, very different kinds of a sense of self, can nonetheless gather here for a common purpose. This kind of proteanism can be superficial, but it also can be profound, in which knowledge is accrued by the very protean struggle, because the protean struggle is at heart a struggle for authenticity and meaning. It comes from our history. That's why it can be a modus vivendi in our time. The history of grave dislocations, not only refugee populations, but also dislocations in our minds from the symbol systems that used to rally us around a common and accepted form of religion, education, authority, the life cycle. All of these are present, but we don't internalize them so easily. We have doubts about them, dislocation, but also the mass media revolution. I don't have to tell you about the way in which images and news travels around the world instantaneously, so that at any moment, any person on the globe can be reached by virtually any image almost immediately of a contemporary or ancient kind. That is new, and that's revolutionary. And then another historical influence is our imagery of extinction. We know that at any time our weapons could do all of us in and destroy everything we've ever connected with and loved. And all of these affect the individual self. The self can either shut down or can open out. And I'm discussing with you, of course, the possibilities of opening out. Because we all experience these protean tendencies, and we're in some sense troubled by them because we're schooled in the virtues of consistency and stability. And of course, these can be good things. But we feel a little guilty about the way our mind and inclinations roam in this protean style. And we feel ourselves to be scattered and then think that the next person must be more together, more stable. Yet somehow, most of us make this protean system, this protean self, work for us. It has conflicts and difficulties, but most of us live from it, and I think we do well to dignify it by giving it the name, as I'm doing now, of the protean self. And of course, protean shifts and transformations aren't themselves absolute. There's no guarantee they'll bring us a panacea. I learned this the hard way. There was a large academic reception in New York City a long time ago, and I first published an essay on the protean self. And in New York City, polite style, a graduate student came up to me and said, "Hey, Lifton," he said, "I tried being a protean man, it doesn't work." And I thought, well, you know, what do you want from me? But I knew he was trying to tell me something. And what he was saying and what I learned was that you can't undergo constant transformations alone. You need an ethical core which is in balance with these transformations. And that kind of equilibrium then gives one the freedom to be protean and to be experimental. So that the protean self, though, it leaves much unresolved. There are many unresolved questions and changing environments, many ambiguities and uncertainties, and these make some people very uneasy. And you can have a backlash, a wave, as we see all through the world, of fundamentalism, of absolute truths, or at least claimed as such, and totalistic attitudes, absolute claims to virtue. And of course, these are reactions to the very threatening nature of opening out, and these are always reactive patterns to protean opening. We saw such patterns in the strange spectacle of the impeachment process in this country, where there was a wish and a claim on the part of at least some for absolute truth and absolute virtue. Now, in contrast with proteanism, we need never be stuck in dead ends. There are always openings that are at least possible for us. Being human gives us access to continuous images and therefore to continuous possibilities. That should be our sense of being human. And that unique human imagination is richest and freest when it comes to terms in some ways with its own history, even and especially in relationship to the cruel history of the 20th century. And when one does confront that history, one becomes quickly an antagonist, a protester toward those cruelties. One takes a stand and commits oneself toward total justice and against violence of all kind. Because in the wonderful words of that great American lyric poet Theodore Roethke, in a dark time, the eye begins to see. So to be human is to recognize one's ties to other human groups, to develop what can be called species consciousness and a species self. That is, if one sees on one's television set a starving African child or an elderly Kosovo survivor who's grieving over the loss of her family and home, one doesn't see them as Muslims or Africans. They are suffering fellow human beings. We lapse from this species self and species consciousness into more narrow withdrawals and antagonisms when we feel threatened, but we have it in part already. We can manifest the beginnings of species consciousness, and we show ourselves capable of a species self, that is, of simply forming a sense of self, which is importantly related to a sense of being a member of humankind. If you ask now when all of this can begin, I would say now, or better still, yesterday. Listen to the words of Václav Havel, the great Czech writer and the leader of the Velvet Revolution against communism in Czechoslovakia. He says, "The real question is whether the brighter future is really always so distant. What if, on the contrary, it has been here for a long time, and only our own blindness and weakness has prevented us from seeing it around us and within us?" So I say to you, take joy in this moment, in your capacity to confront pain and to transcend it. For finally, and I close with the words of Gershom Scholem, a great student of Jewish mysticism, who tells us, "The story is not ended. It has not yet become history, and the secret life it holds can break out tomorrow in you or in me." Thank you.
Honored guests, members of the Board of Trustees, members of the faculty, families, friends, and members of the great class of 1999. Welcome to the 178th graduation ceremony at Colgate University. As Yogi Berra says, if people don't want to come to the park, nobody's going to stop them. Well, nostalgia may not be what it used to be, but nobody could keep us away from this ceremony today, not even a blast at Hilton Head. We want to share our feelings and sense of pride in the great class of 1999. The senior class lunch was just one indicator of the extraordinary talents of Colgate students and alumni. Woody Thompson of the class of '89 and Kieran Campion blew us away with their speeches, and Adam Olshansky singing moved us all. Thanks to Robin King for organizing the lunch, and a special thanks to the class for honoring me with a senior class award. I was speechless on Friday, but now at least I have the presence of mind to tell you all how moved I was by this great honor. While I owe a great debt to you, the class owes a debt of gratitude to many people who have made these last 4 years so special. Let me speak for you in thanking your parents, whose support has been formative, generous, emotionally significant, and essential. The members of the board, who hold this institution in trust for this generation and those to follow, nurturing Colgate's excellence and ensuring its continued enhancement. The faculty, who so devotedly shape the experience of learning that is at the very heart of the Colgate experience. And to the class, I say that you've worked hard, occasionally played hard, so that you might acquire the knowledge and skills that will serve you in whatever you may choose to do, even as those choices may have to be made more than once. But these debts should generate no guilt. You will repay them to your children and to the next generation. This is not a time for great solemnity, but a time of celebration, as I'm sure we'll understand when we hear from our speaker. Why is this day different from all other days? On all other days, the sky is at best gray. On all other days, the class dresses in the official uniform of jeans, sweatshirts, and caps on backwards. Today, you don medieval costumes. The gowns connect us symbolically to the past, to a tradition that recognizes the centrality of learning. On all other days, we hardly see the beauty of this place, taking it for granted. Today, the class commits that beauty indelibly to memory. On all other days, parents have generally supported sons and daughters. Woody Allen says, "A job is an invasion of privacy." Most of us would prefer that invasion. Perhaps parental support may not change, at least for a while, for some of you. On all other days, you lived with and engaged friends within a special community. Today, as you go your separate ways, it will never again be so easy to accept others with such openness and generosity. And on all other days, you feel guilty that you haven't yet gotten started on that paper due next week. That won't change. I know many of these things from experience, but also because after 11 years at Colgate, I couldn't get through in 4, I finally caught up with the class. This year, I too graduate, after having suffered the same anxieties that you know so well. Separation, worry about what I was going to do next. Was there anyone out there willing to pay me? Would I ever find a place to live? Of course, given all the successful people celebrating here today, perhaps those of you talented folks who've not yet landed the job of your dreams may be able to find a parent someplace. One of your friends has, with some influence. The last 4 years have been extraordinarily important in shaping who you are. Many of you have won special honors. Antonio Delgado, Tanner Johnson, Jenny Erickson, Eric Lewin, Kirsty Nichols, Michael Neidick have won Rhodes, Watson, Fulbright, and Churchill Fellowships, for which I congratulate you. And our faculty colleague, Peter Balakian, has been honored with a Guggenheim Fellowship. I'm told that Spring Party Weekend was a fabulous success, although I wasn't offered a single beer. Perhaps there's a causal arrow there. The honor code was overwhelmingly passed by students and faculty and was approved by the Board of Trustees this weekend. But the memories are not all joyous. 3 members of the class have been taken from us. Although they're not here to celebrate with you, Aaron Franceschi Green and Elizabeth Victor will be receiving honorary bachelor's degrees, and Ryan Seed will receive a posthumous BA. The bittersweet will continue to play a role in every important milestone you celebrate. Looking back, you are no longer the hesitant, uneasy, but expectant teenagers I met at that ice cream social 4 years ago. Looking ahead, you'll be facing a rapidly changing world, desperately in need of humane, moral, knowledgeable, and effective leaders. You must rise to the challenge. Be bold and go for it. In this sea of change, Colgate will be a fixed point for you, as will your family and friends. The university will change too, but its basic values will remain strong. We're counting on you to accept the mantle of responsible leadership. Colgate opened up ideas for you, encouraged independent thinking as well as mutual engagement. It will remain here for you for the rest of your lives. You will be drawn back to this valley by its beauty, by the memories it evokes, and by the innocence you felt here. Do not lose innocence, openness, the capacity to look at the world from a new perspective, or to see yourselves as one with others, no matter how different they may be. Keep Colgate alive in your hearts and minds, as you have begun to do with the extraordinary support you provided Colgate in your senior class gift. Always do what you think is right to help make a better America. As Yogi Berra put it, I'm sure when he was thinking of the great class of '99 and me, if we had it to do all over again, we'd do it all over again. Now I would like to recognize those faculty who are retiring. Dietrich Kessler, Professor of Biology. Dietz Kessler began his Colgate teaching career in 1984, joining the Department of Biology as professor and chair of the department. His teaching specialties include cell biology and microbiology, and his interests in the molecular basis of cytoplasmic motility, regulation of actomycin contraction, properties of calcium-binding proteins, and calcium-binding properties of myosin, have taken him to Switzerland, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Not many on the Colgate faculty can claim to be a native son of Hamilton. Dietz's father was a professor of economics at Colgate from 1935 to 1957. Perhaps more than anyone else, Dietz's vision of a biology curriculum that encourages collaborative learning experiences, student-faculty research, and capstone research tutorials has transformed his department into a lively and energetic haven for students and faculty alike. I am honored to confer the title of Professor of Biology Emeritus upon Dietz Kessler. James Nichols, Professor of Romance Languages and Literatures. Jim Nichols began his Colgate career as an assistant professor of Romance languages in 1962. His teaching specialties and research interests include 16th, 17th, and 18th century French literature, 19th century French novel and translation, and Anglo-French relations in the 18th century. In addition, Jim has directed the Dijon Study Group on 7 separate occasions, has chaired the department, and has served as Associate Dean of the faculty. It is with great pleasure that I confer upon Jim Nichols the title of Professor of Romance Languages and Literatures Emeritus. We now proceed to the conferring of honorary degrees. Life has been your subject for all these years. Film, television, the stage, records and books are your classrooms. And we are your willing pupils, holding our sides all the way. Without making it an issue, you collapse barriers as you entertain. You make us laugh without making us cringe, and at the end, we're smarter, better people. We're delighted to have you deliver our commencement address today, the final lecture to the undergraduate class of 1999. Bill Cosby, it is with great pleasure that I award you the degree Doctor of Letters honoris causa.
Mr. President, it is a pleasure to present Henry L. Hillman for the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa from Colgate University.
Your Hillman Foundation sustains organizations and services that are essential to the quality of life for all citizens of your region, a fact that has been recognized with a long list of honors and awards, including the National Human Relations Award given by the Conference of Christians and Jews. Today, Colgate is proud to honor your work on behalf of your community with this Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
Mr. President, it's a pleasure to present Eugene M. Lang for the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa from Colgate University.
But of all your kindnesses, no commitment exceeds that which you made in 1981 to the 54 sixth graders at New York's PS 121. Your promise of time and money to help them achieve their dreams led to the creation of your I Have a Dream Foundation, which has become a model of hope for disadvantaged youth across the nation. Colgate is proud to honor you with the Doctor of Laws honoris causa in recognition of your selfless efforts. Congratulations. You're falling apart here. Congratulations.
Mr. President, it is my pleasure to present Tanya Leone for the degree of Doctor of Music honoris causa from Colgate University.
Your first opera, The Scourge of Hyacinths, based on a radio play by Nobel Prize winner Wole Soyinka, won acclaim for performances earlier this year in Switzerland, France, and Austria. As a visiting lecturer at Harvard, visiting professor at Yale, and faculty member at Brooklyn College, you have shared your gift with students. To the many honors that have been bestowed upon you here and abroad, we're happy to add the Doctor of Music honoris causa from Colgate University.
Mr. President, it is my pleasure to present Robert J. Lifton for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters honoris causa from Colgate University.
In this year, when the Center for Ethics in World Societies has created on campus a forum for us to hear the messages of survivors and scholars, it was a singular privilege to have as our baccalaureate speaker one of the most prolific educators and writers on these topics, the author of more than 20 books, many of which are in use on campus. Distinguished professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice and the Graduate School of the City University of New York, and director of the Center on Violence and Human Survival, it is an honor to welcome you back to campus and to award you the Doctor of Humane Letters honoris causa.
Mr. President, it is a pleasure to present Story Musgrave for a degree of Doctor of Science honoris causa of Colgate University.
You were with NASA for 16 years before you got into space. But once you started, you took the space shuttle like upstaters take the commuter to New York, completing 6 missions in 13 years, more than any other astronaut. In 1993, you led the spacewalking Endeavours team that salvaged the $2 billion Hubble Space Telescope. Until John Glenn's recent mission, you were the oldest astronaut. Your approach is described as at once detailed and philosophical. You are a true hero for all of us who dream one day of slipping the bonds of Earth. And it is a privilege to award you this Doctor of Science, honoris causa. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
William Julius Wilson, friend and colleague, for the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa from Colgate University. Thank you.
Three of your widely acclaimed books in particular, The Declining Significance of Race, The Truly Disadvantaged, and When Work Disappears, The World of the New Urban Poor, have helped us to differentiate between class and race as we consider the plight of the inner cities. Mayor Daley, Governor Cuomo, Senator Bradley, and President Clinton are among those who have sought your advice. In 1996, the year Time magazine named you one of the 25 most influential people. You moved to Harvard, accepting a university professorship. Joining some of the nation's finest universities, Colgate is proud to recognize your contributions by awarding you the Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Thank you. Congratulations. I'm so pleased to have you.
Neil Robert Gerboy. Who better than a mathematician whose favorite number is 13 to serve as the 13th president of a college founded by 13 men with $13 and 13 prayers? Your imaginative, community-centered leadership over the past 11 years has made us all feel invested in our college. Students call you a student's president. Faculty members call you the faculty's president. And now, with the degree that I am about to bestow, we will make official what alumni have known all along, that you are one of their own. Colgate has grown stronger on your watch. From residential life to curriculum to athletics to finances, we are more certain of ourselves. We were an excellent college when you arrived, and you made us better. And not only for the excellence of the elegance of the curriculum, or the beauty of the campus, or the size of the endowment, but for the unwavering projection of the Colgate spirit that has been at the center of all you do. Neil R. Gerboy, for all that you mean to us, it is my pleasure to award you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, from Colgate University.
We have to get on with our business now. It is our custom to ask one of the honorary degree recipients to speak to us. I know you haven't a clue who it's going to be. I am delighted Bill Cosby has consented to do so. Mr. Bill Cosby.
Yes, sir.
I was at the Penn Relays and 2 Colgate runners. I don't know how the team finished. I came over to him and I said, "Hey, these guys had a face like this." I mean, Bill Cosby just said, "Hey" to you. And these guys said to me, "We're not Cornell." I didn't know why. I didn't know why they said it to me. I felt, okay, somebody must be stupid somewhere. C-O-R-C-O-L. Probably maybe a person with dyslexia saw it wrong or something, but I have no problem with Colgate. Or in Spanish, Colgate. So there. We got rid of that. So let that tension fly away. I saw an interesting story. It was church. And congregation was there, as well as the ministers speaking, and the doors flew open. And there stood Satan. Took 3 fireballs and he threw them. Lit up the sides of the church. The minister grabbed the Bible and said, "Be gone from here, Satan." Satan threw a fireball, hit the Bible, burned it up. The minister ran out along with the congregation, except one fellow. One fellow just sitting there with sunglasses on, looking just as smooth as he could look. And the devil threw a fireball at him, bounced off his shoulder. The devil went over to him and said, "You realize you're the only person still sitting here?" And the guy said, "Yeah." The devil said, "Do you know who I am?" The fellow with the sunglasses looking just as smooth as he could be. He said, "Yeah, I know you." The devil took a fireball and threw it in his crotch. Guy just let it burn. The devil said, "Why are you not afraid of me?" Guy said, "Because I graduated from Colgate." And I had Jerry Balmus for philosophy. Okay. For those of you sitting behind, this is all, but there is no going forth. There's no electric moment. You have people here who they have some food prepared for you, and little kids and uncles and aunts going to shake your hand. Graduation is a big thing for them. People come to graduations and don't go to funerals. People come to graduations, don't go to weddings. People can't even stand up straight, come to graduations. Something they want to see. It's a sign of success. This thing about you going forth out into a new world is, it's a terrible picture. You've already been out there. You know where the beer hall is. You know where the pizza parlor is. You know, there's nothing you have to learn except something they don't teach. College, university teaches matriculation, not maturity. Your rooms are just as filthy as they were the day you graduated from high school. We want that cleaned up. If anything about today, there's no going forth. You are considered healed. Walk on your own. Those of you sitting there and you walk across, and some of you, I've heard you already, I can't believe. Yes, believe. You're out of here. Yeah. Yeah. Believe it. You can't sit anymore. J-O-B. There's one idiot came up to me today, gave me, idiot, gave me a picture of himself, said, I want to be an actor. I said, I'm not the one to give it to. You go to, there he is, look at him, and he's not afraid. He's not afraid. Not afraid to come to the wrong person. Because now when I see his picture, I'll say, this is an idiot. Give him a job. Not because of him, but because of his poor family. They thought he was bright. His mother came up to me and apologized for him. It's going to be this way for a long time for him. He'll be 50 years old. His mother will still be coming up and apologizing for him. Please give him a raise. He's not too bright. Stand up again. There he is. Not afraid. Not afraid. No, no, no. You're not afraid. Keep it up until you fail. Some of you don't even have that. Some of you just sitting there going, oh, this is going to hurt. Some of you have practiced 21 years of whining and getting your way. Some of you won't admit that you're really happy to go home. Some of you are very happy to just go back and whine. And you wish you had, your freshman year, that day you entered and you were accepted here. And you made the name of the school sound like a question. So, where are you going? I'm going to Colgate. And I don't know how many of you started out, I'm going to get all A's. And then you saw your first C paper, and you crumbled like wet newspaper. And you found that 70% of anything is good enough for you. There you are. Magna cum laudes, summa cum laudes, and thank you, laudes. Stand up again. There he is. You'll be on the evening news. You'll probably be working before I can hire you. But this is, stop it. This is what it's about. It's not about a bunch of stiff people this afternoon walking around, well, would you like tea and would you like... This is a good moment, man. We got some people who have to go back to these people over here who have no idea what you're supposed to do except the fact that today you are going to sing the alma mater for the last time at these prices. Exactly. Exactly. I've often wondered how bright the person is who continues to make us wear these black hats, black robes while we sit in the sun. It makes no sense. I don't mean to change anything. It's just that if you pass out, there's a reason for it. Other than the fact that there's some people who went drinking last night. Well, this is a good way to keep a job. Falling out in the middle of public people. Everybody look, when you pass by here, faculty, very important people. They're going to stay here. And they're going to teach new, fresh people coming in. They're going to try and put their ideas across. And they're going to do it with hope and a want and a need in themselves to make a change. Some of you will not look down here because you really didn't do well. And you didn't do well because you didn't want to do well. You figured out, I'll learn 75% of this, then we can talk in a group and I'll get another 10%. And if it's multiple choice, I got a choice there. That sends everything right up. Some of you dislike some of the students sitting here because they set the curve. These people should be disliked. They don't care about other people. They ruin it. There's a bad image that they put out, wherein you guys want to say you burned out. These people are still going strong. I mean, what? You got to have a meeting with that. Broken the code. But those of you, if you would like to, send a letter to one or two professors that you didn't want to do well in their class because you just didn't have it. That professor came through and did his or her best. Send a letter, just say, I'm sorry. You have to put your name to it, you know? But you have no idea what it will do for a professor. Just to know that 2 or 3 people said, you didn't fail. You didn't miss. I just didn't care. And that's that. Makes them feel much better. Where is your life? Where are you going? I think your parents care. But they're willing to put up with an awful lot. These people are absolutely fantastic. You become a parent and you're willing to just take all kinds of crap. Excuses that don't pass anywhere else. And I think that's what's important about where you're going now when they say go forth. Maybe that's it. You're going to face people now not going to go for those excuses. You got to count. You have to be able to count, not make a count. You have a credit card. There are people who are going to say, hey, man, you're going to jail. And mom and dad can't bail you out because you committed a crime. There are people who are not going to pay for your parking fines that have matured. Yeah, they paid it this time so you could get the hell out of here. See, the university's not dumb. They want their money, so they blame the parent. You give us the money, your kid's not graduating. They want you out, so they pay it. All right. Now what are you going to do? Face up to it. Here we go. Real life. You look at yourselves and you see what? Well, some of these folks out here, it's quite obvious, have not gone any past 4th grade. What do they know? One thing I know is don't bet on the fact that you know more. And I use my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, as an example. While at Temple University, I was having a ball with Dr. LeBlanc's philosophy class. And every once in a while, in the middle of his math equations that I swore he was making up, he would turn around and ask a question, and we would go into debate. 3 hours, Tuesday and Thursday. And one of the questions was, what song would the Baltimore Oriole sing if there was but one Baltimore Oriole? And we went 3 hours on that, just challenging each other and yelling at each other. You're an idiot. Yeah, well, you sit down. And Dr. Blonde just smiled and used body language and tried to get us involved. Come on, come on, come on. And finally, Ramon Sanchez, who never said anything, really, stood up and said he would sing his own song. And Dr. LeBlanc said, you get an A for that? Thank you. And everybody was angry. You know, I thought, well, that's stupid. I had that answer a long time ago. Why didn't I say it? I wasn't angry with myself. I was angry with Ramon for saying it. But riding home on the subway, I just felt so good about myself because I was in college. My alpha waves were stimulated. The inertia had been hit, and we were moving, excited. I watched people on the subway depending upon the newspaper to tell them what to do. And Thursday, in Dr. LeBlanc's class, while discussing Hegel's theory of dialectical materialism, he stopped and he said, is the glass half full or half empty? And we went 3 hours yelling at each other, throwing things. It was fantastic. I just felt energized. I was in college. I rode the subway train and stupid people there just reading the newspaper were not stimulated. Oh, my God. And I went home. I couldn't get in the house. My mother was still working, so I had no key. My father said she was practicing me for when I get married. And I went down to Grandma and Granddad Cosby's house, and I knocked on the door, and my grandmother was making biscuits in the dough and flour, and she could make a turn around knob with her elbow, just did that. And she said, come on in. And she only went to the 4th grade, you know, but she kept asking me about college and how and I tried to keep it round and right there with the 4th grade, educated person. I mean, I can't get into Hegel's theory of dialectic. She'd never understand that. And but she kept asking, and she kept turning and flopping this bread, and she was never satisfied with it. Just kept throwing flour and pounding it and rolling it, and I had a jar, and I wanted to, make a circle and just get one biscuit and put it in the oven, why? Because I was really hungry for something, and she was pounding. She said, well, what is all of this about? What are you learning? And finally I said, look, today we discussed for 3 hours. Very interesting question, grandmother. Is the glass half full or half empty? And she said, well, that depends on if you're drinking or pouring. On Tuesday, I had on a suit and a tie. And I looked at Ramon as I stood and said, it depends on if you're drinking or smoking. It was absolutely wonderful. I am going to sit down because this is still your moment. It's not about me. It's not about anybody, really. It's about your walking up here and going to shake hands with you and give you a hug, and supposedly that's the off-ramp, I guess, and then you'll be in the real world when you get down there. So remember that. You belong to them now. They're your buddies, they're your friends, and they're proud of you. But this is probably the last time. You have some examples here, these honorary You heard what some of them did in their life. You can take a choice. Anyone you want to be. There's examples up here. There he is. Okay, I have mine now. You get yours. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Bill, for teaching us so much while making us laugh. Now we're going to begin the presentation of degrees by awarding 2 honorary bachelor's degrees. And I would like to award the first to Aaron Franceschi Green, which will be accepted by his parents, Joseph Franceschi and Catherine Green. Would they please come up? And an honorary bachelor's degree to Elizabeth Victor, which will be accepted by Father Donovan.
Mr. President, it's my privilege to present to you 677 graduates of the class of 1999 who have completed all the degree requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Arts. I present them to you so that you may award that degree upon them and that Mr. Cosby may shake their hand.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the State of New York and the trustees and faculty of Colgate University, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Bachelor of Arts. Congratulations.
Christopher Laszlo Eager. Heidi Ann Erbsen. Jennifer Lynn Erickson, magna cum laude, honors in sociology, anthropology, Phi Beta Kappa. Jessica Ann Erickson. Michael Scott Esposito. Keith James Evans. Michael Andrew Evans.
Please join me in congratulating the class of 1999.
Sure. Hey, hey!